Good afternoon, this is Mac Lacey. I'm in Montreal, Quebec at the NTA convention. My guest is Stephen Richer, who is the Public Affairs Advocate for NTA. Steve, let's talk a little bit about the year ahead and the political emphasis for the industry, for NTA and for your group. Start with exit and entry. What's going on with that particular issue?
Well, we're looking at how simple it is to get into and out of the United States. And since NTA is focused on all of North America, we're also looking at the Canadian and Mexican borders. We don't expect to see security diminished in any way, but we'd like to see if there's ways that the process, both for obtaining visas and moving across the border, can be expedited. For example, with RFID identification information or the global exit program. So those are a couple of things we're looking at. And in one case, we'll be working with friends in Canada. In the other case, we'll be working with friends in Congress and other parts of the industry.
Okay. And then another emphasis you mentioned to me was funding the federal highway bill. How are we going to go about that in these difficult times?
That's going to be really tricky because the federal highway reauthorization bill has a price tag of about $700 billion. And with the new Congress coming in, don't know what kind of appetite they're going to have for new appropriations. But highways are in tough shape, bridges, railroads, all kinds of infrastructure. And a stimulus type of year where stimulus spending would be high priority would be different.
Right.
But we've got to keep our infrastructure up if we're going to move people around, whether it's in their family car or a motor coach or in a railroad train. So all of those things are really important, and there's going to be some very big discussion about that this year. The travel industry is pretty much behind it.
Right, okay. And the freedom to travel to Cuba. I know that's been something on the agenda now for several years. A lot of players are in place to pursue that. What are our chances?
Well, it's going to be really interesting. We got very, very close, passed through the House Agriculture Committee. They had some provisions in the legislation that allowed different kind of sales to take place so that you didn't have to go through third nation banks, and came to the House Foreign Affairs Committee, probably a couple votes shy, postponed that until after the election. Now I'm not sure whether that's going to come up in the lame duck session or not, but the new chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee is a big opponent of freedom of travel to Cuba, and it's really too bad because the coalition of people from travel, from business, from agriculture, from human rights, from organized religion, cultural institutions, higher education, we're all working for this legislation. Probably would be very helpful for both the Cuban people and American business, as well as changing the circumstance of the only country that the U.S. government forbids its citizens to travel. And sitting here in Canada where they can go to Cuba, they asked us the other day at lunch, what's the big deal?
Right. All right, let me hit you with one final question and we'll stop. I know you have been very involved in generating grassroots support across the country for issues like this through NTA and through other organizations in Washington. What's the key right now for getting the grassroots support out across the country, and how is there a website that for anyone watching this video that wants to get involved that they can go to?
Well, certainly you can go to ntaonline.com, but one of the things that we're doing in addition to working with our individual members is forming coalitions strategically with other parts of the travel sector and even across industry lines, as I just mentioned with the Cuba bill. Nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. I don't care how big your country is, how big your company is, how big your association or industry is. If you don't have partners, you can't move things in Washington. So we look for the kind of work where we can reach out across the industry and across other sectors to get people involved in the issues, to move things legislatively, to work through policy decision-making at the executive department level.
Okay. This is Mac Lacey. I'm at the NTA convention in Montreal. I'm with Steve Richer. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Mac. Good to see you.
Thanks.